It's funny how some women seem to have this quiet power when they walk into a room. They don't have to be the loudest. They don't have to be the most dressed up. They just carry a calm confidence that makes everyone turn their head without even realizing why. That kind of energy doesn't come from what you look like. It comes from how you make someone feel. Real attraction isn't a performance, it's a moment. It's those small gestures that happen in between the big ones, the moments that whisper rather than shout. Most people think seduction starts with what you say or how you move, but it actually begins much earlier in the way you build anticipation. It's that half second before a touch, the look that lingers just a little too long, the breath you take before you speak. That's where connection begins. And if you can master that space, you can make a man feel something he can't explain, but can't forget either. Today, I want to share 3 secret places to kiss a man that make him melt. And I'm not talking about the obvious. I'm talking about the quiet, unexpected places that wake up his emotions, that make him feel safe enough to drop his guard and curious enough to lean in closer. Let's start with the first one. The area right by his ear, that small space on his cheek where words turn into warmth. When you lean in close enough for him to feel your breath, but not your lips yet, something powerful happens. You're giving permission. You're saying, I'm here, I trust this space, and you can relax around me. Most men spend their lives performing. They try to be strong, to look composed, to play it cool. But when a woman closes that tiny gap with calm confidence, she gives him the rare gift of stillness. It's not a move, it's a moment. I remember a friend telling me a story about saying goodbye to a guy she liked at the airport. There was noise everywhere, people moving around them. That awkward pressure of goodbye. She leaned in and whispered right by his ear, travel safe. Okay, that was it. No grand gesture, no dramatic kiss. But she told me later she could feel his whole body exhale. Weeks later, he texted her and said that I still think about that moment at the gate because that kind of connection bypasses logic. It speaks straight to the nervous system. It's not the kiss itself that matters. It's what it communicates. It says you don't need to be impressive right now. You can just be. That little kiss near the ear works because it combines trust and attraction in the same breath. You're close enough to be intimate, but gentle enough to be safe. That's the perfect tension. And the secret behind that moment is confidence. Not loud confidence, not the kind that tries to control the room, but quiet comfort. When you can be still in a moment, when you don't rush to prove anything, you become magnetic. It's the energy of someone who's not trying to win approval, but someone who already knows her worth. Men can feel that instantly. It's not about dominance, it's about ease. There's something else happening on a deeper level too. Psychologists call it the proximity effect. When someone you're drawn to gets close enough that you can feel their breath, your brain releases oxytocin, the chemical that builds trust, but it only releases when that closeness feels safe. That's why that soft kiss by the ear works. It's not just physical, it's emotional. It creates comfort and chemistry at the same time. Think about how rare that feeling is for most men. They go through their day being strong, composed, logical. Very few moments in their lives give them permission to soften. When a woman does that for him, when she lets him feel safe and seen in the same breath, it hits deeper than any flashy act of seduction. I once coached a musician who told me he struggled to connect with people, both on and off stage. During a recording session, a close friend of his walked up behind him while he was playing guitar, rested her chin lightly on his shoulder and stayed there for a moment. No words, no drama, just quiet presence. He said, that one moment changed the way I played the rest of the song. Because for the first time that day, he felt seen. That's the same psychology behind that first secret place. It's not about intensity, it's about intimacy. The difference between the two is that intensity impresses, but intimacy impacts. Intensity fades, intimacy lingers. When you're that close, the world gets quieter, time slows down, and both of you start breathing the same rhythm. That's connection. So the next time you're with someone you care about, don't rush to the obvious. Don't think about the move, think about the moment. Let your energy say more than your words. When you lean in by his ear, don't just do it because it's romantic. Do it because it tells him something he rarely hears. You don't have to perform here. That message is what actually draws him in. Now, here's something to remember. Seduction isn't about control, it's about awareness. The more aware you are of your effect, the less you have to try. When you know the power of the quiet moments, you stop chasing reactions. You start creating experiences. That's what makes you unforgettable. And maybe that's the real secret behind attraction. It's not about doing more, it's about feeling more. When you're truly present, every little thing you do feels intentional. You can take something as small as a kiss near the ear and turn it into a story his mind plays back for weeks. So, as we move on to the next place, I want you to remember this: your goal isn't to impress a man. Your goal is to make him feel something he hasn't felt in a long time. Safety, curiosity, warmth. Because when you can make him feel that, he'll remember you long after the moment ends. Now let's talk about the second place, because this one doesn't just change how he feels. It changes who's leading the rhythm between you. You know what most people miss about attraction? It's not about who takes the first step. It's about who controls the tempo. When you understand tempo, you can shift the entire energy between two people without saying a word. That brings us to the second secret place. It isn't about where your lips touch. It's about when it's the spot that changes the rhythm of the moment and tells him you're confident enough to lead. Picture this. You're sitting next to him, maybe at dinner, maybe on a couch after a long day. There's laughter, small talk, the kind of silence that doesn't feel awkward anymore. He's speaking and you're listening, but more than that, you're feeling the space between words. You wait for a natural pause, and instead of filling it with more conversation, you let your hand find his shoulder, the side of his neck, that area just below where the jaw meets the collar. Not a hard grip, not even a real hold, just contact still and gentle. Then, without rushing, you lean in and give the lightest kiss on that point. That small action shifts everything. It's not a passionate kiss, it's a grounding one. It tells him, we're right here, right now. Men live in their heads so much. They think about what they should do next, what they should say, what you might be thinking. That soft kiss brings him out of his head and into the moment. Suddenly, his brain stops racing. He feels you, he smells you, and time slows down. A woman once told me she used to date a guy who never stopped moving. He checked his phone between every topic. He looked at his watch, at the door, at anything but her eyes. One night, she got tired of trying to compete with his distractions. While he was talking, she just leaned forward and gave him a slow, gentle kiss right under the edge of his jaw. He froze mid-sentence. Then he smiled, took a breath, and said, "Okay, I'm listening." She said after that moment, everything changed. He stayed present, because that little kiss was more than affection. It was a reminder to be here. The second place works because it grounds him. The neck is a highway of nerves, sure, but more importantly, it's where the physical meets the emotional. A light kiss there tells him, you can stop performing. You're not demanding, you're anchoring. You're showing him that the calmest moments can be the most charged. And that leads me to a bigger truth. Confidence in attraction isn't about speed, it's about certainty. When you know you have someone's attention, you don't rush to keep it. You savor it. That pause between words, that second before you lean in, that's where tension lies. Most people run away from silence because they're scared it means they've lost interest. But silence, when used well, is magnetic. It's the moment that says, we're comfortable enough not to fill every second with noise. The more you can master silence, the more powerful you become. Because when you pause, the other person leans in, they want to know what comes next. That's the rhythm of real attraction. It's give, wait, give again, like a song that breathes instead of blaring. Now, there's something else the second kiss does. It rebalances power. When you take the initiative in a soft, thoughtful way, you show that you're not waiting for permission to create connection. That's incredibly attractive. Men don't fall for the woman who chases. They fall for the woman who knows when to step forward and when to let him come closer. That tiny kiss under the jaw says, I'm not afraid to lead this dance, but I'm not trying to control it either. It's leadership without ego, confidence without pressure. I remember working with a client who said, Matt, I feel like I always have to wait for the guy to make the first move, otherwise I'll seem too strong. I told her strength doesn't scare men, disconnection does. What turns people off isn't assertiveness, it's intensity without empathy. The secret is to balance boldness with softness. The kiss under the jaw does exactly that. It's bold enough to show confidence, soft enough to feel caring. It's the physical version of saying, I'm secure enough to meet you halfway. And here's where psychology sneaks back in. When you initiate a gentle touch, you're triggering something in the other person's mirror neurons, those parts of the brain that reflect emotion. When you're calm, they feel calm. When you're sure, They feel sure. That's why if you enter a moment nervously, it often stays nervous. But if you step in with slow, deliberate ease, the energy mirrors back. The second secret place becomes less about anatomy and more about atmosphere. You're teaching his body to match your pace. That's the hidden skill in attraction pacing. When you control the pace, you control how deeply the experience lands. You know that feeling when a song you love hits that one perfect pause before the chorus. You hold your breath because you know what's coming. That's what your pacing does for him. It creates a rhythm his emotions can't help but follow. Now, let me be clear. These moments aren't tricks. They're not about manipulating someone into wanting you. They're about communicating with presence. Every person on earth is starving for presence. Someone who listens fully, who touches intentionally, who looks into their eyes and actually sees them. That's rarer than you think. And when you can give it, you stand out in a world of people who are always half elsewhere. So the second secret place isn't really a physical spot. It's a reminder. It's that gentle kiss under the jaw, the shoulder, the neck, wherever it feels natural, that pulls him back into the now. And when you do it slowly. Let the silence after it speak louder than words, because in that silence, everything important happens. Let me share another quick story. A woman I coached told me about her partner, someone she'd been with for years. She said they'd fallen into routine. Affection had become mechanical. One night, instead of rushing through the usual evening, she decided to slow everything down. When he came into the kitchen, tired and distracted, she walked up, placed a hand on his chest, and gave a gentle kiss on the side of his neck. She didn't say anything, just smiled and went back to what she was doing. She said later that he followed her around the house all evening, like he just remembered why he fell for her in the first place. Because affection that comes from mindfulness reignites connection that routine tries to dull. That's the heart of the second secret place. It's mindfulness in motion. When you act with intention, the other person feels it immediately. It's not about passion for its own sake. It's about making someone feel chosen in that exact moment. People remember how you make them feel seen more than anything you ever say. And this leads us to another principle of real attraction. Energy is contagious. When you bring calm confidence into an interaction, you invite the same in return. When you bring chaos, you invite chaos back. The kiss by the jaw, the neck, the shoulder, it carries an unspoken message. We're safe here. We can slow down. That's why it feels grounding, not just exciting. It's the calm kind of chemistry, the kind that lasts longer because it's built on trust. Now, before we move to the third secret place, let's pause for a second. Think about what we've covered so far. The first place is about permission. The second is about pace. Together, they create a foundation. One builds comfort, the other builds rhythm. You don't need anything flashy. You don't need a script. All you need is presence, patience, and awareness, because when you master those three, the rest happens naturally. So as we head to the final secret place, remember this: the goal isn't to be remembered for one dramatic gesture, but to be unforgettable for how you make someone feel. The third place is where you turn that feeling into something lasting, something that stays long after the moment ends. Let's talk about that next. Now we come to the third place, and this one is my favorite because it's not just about touch, it's about trust. The first two moments we talked about build comfort and rhythm. They let him relax, they invite him to slow down. But this third one, this is where you make him feel emotionally connected to you in a way that stays long after you walk away. It's the kiss on the forehead. Simple, quiet, almost old-fashioned, but unbelievably powerful when it's real. You might think it's small, but the forehead is where we hold tension, where thoughts live. When you kiss a man there, you're not kissing for attention, you're offering calm. It's the one gesture that says, "You're safe with me." Imagine you're sitting together after a long day. Maybe he's tired, maybe he's had a rough time. You're not trying to be romantic in that moment, you're just present. You take a breath, you reach up and you press a light kiss against his forehead. You don't say a word, you just stay there for a second, breathing in the same space. That's the kind of gesture that goes straight past attraction and lands in the part of the brain that stores emotional memory. It's grounding. It's real. One woman once told me she did that for her partner without even thinking. He'd been quiet all evening, something on his mind. She walked over, cupped his face, and kissed his forehead. He looked at her for a moment and said, "I didn't realize how much I needed that." He wasn't talking about the physical act. He was talking about being understood without having to explain himself. That's what connection feels like. Not fireworks, but peace. And that's what most people are actually looking for. We chase excitement because we think it will make us feel alive. But what really makes us fall in love is safety. Not boredom, not routine, but that deep sense that someone sees the real you and doesn't flinch. The forehead kiss gives that message without a single word. It says, you don't have to prove anything here. There's something beautifully paradoxical about that. The most romantic gesture isn't the most passionate one, it's the most reassuring one. When you show someone that you can be calm in the middle of chaos, you become unforgettable. Because anyone can make a heart race, but very few can make a heart rest. Let's be honest, attraction is easy to spark. A look, a smile, a bit of tension, that's the easy part. But emotional intimacy, the kind that makes two people truly comfortable with each other, that's rare. And that's what the third place represents. It's not about thrill, it's about depth. When you kiss someone on the forehead, you're communicating belief. You're saying, I see your potential, even when you doubt it. That single act can make a man feel stronger without you saying a single motivational word, because affection at that level doesn't inflate the ego, it feeds the soul. Now here's the secret that ties all three places together. Every one of them, the ear, the neck, the forehead, works because it's intentional. It's not about the physical touch, it's about the meaning behind it. The meaning is what stays. The meaning is what makes him remember. You might have noticed something else by now. None of these moments are about taking, they're all about giving. And that's what separates true confidence from performance. When you're confident, you give freely. You give presence, warmth, attention. You don't do it to get a reaction. You do it because you're full enough within yourself to share. That's the kind of energy that attracts people effortlessly. I once had a conversation with a man who dated a lot, and I asked him what stood out about the woman he eventually fell in love with. He said, she had this calmness. She'd reach out and touch my arm when I was speaking or kiss my forehead when she said goodbye, and it made me feel like everything slowed down. He said it wasn't the most passionate relationship he'd ever had, but it was the most peaceful. And peace, he said, was something he didn't know he wanted until he found it. That's what real intimacy does. It teaches you what you didn't know you were missing. Now, as we come to the end of this, I want you to think about what these three places represent rather than what they are. The first one, by the ear, is about permission, letting someone in. The second, along the neck, is about pacing, taking control of the rhythm. The third, the forehead, is about protection, offering safety. Together, they form a language. And if you can speak that language fluently, you can communicate care, confidence, and connection all at once. Because here's the truth, most people never realize attraction doesn't live in the body, it lives in the meaning. You can be the most beautiful person in the room, but if your touch has no meaning, it fades. But when your energy carries intention, when your gestures come from genuine presence, you become unforgettable. So let me leave you with this. Seduction isn't about getting someone to want you. It's about creating a moment so real that both of you forget about everything else. It's about awareness. Awareness of your own energy, awareness of theirs, awareness of the tiny details that make someone feel seen. If you can give that kind of awareness, you won't have to compete. You won't have to prove yourself. You'll just be that person who makes others feel something rare. And the truth is, that's the highest form of attraction there is. Maybe tonight, or the next time you're with someone you care about, you'll remember this. You'll take a second longer before you speak. You'll listen a little deeper. And when the moment feels right, you'll give that small, meaningful kiss, not to impress, but to connect. And that one moment might say everything that words never could. Because the real secret to connection isn't a trick, it's attention. And the person who gives attention with kindness, with intention, with quiet confidence, that's the person nobody forgets.